When the Third Reich finally collapsed on May 8, 1945, the mighty engines of Nazi Germany went silent, and with them the thunder of more than 6,000 Panther tanks that had once prowled the battlefields of Europe. These armored beasts, symbols of German engineering ambition, had rolled off assembly lines in staggering numbers throughout the war. Yet, when the dust settled and the smoke drifted away from shattered cities, barely a sliver of them remained capable of moving under their own power. Dozens lay scattered across farmlands in France, left behind in ditches or hiding under layers of overgrowth in Belgium's deep forests. Others rested like abandoned skeletons inside captured German plants, their frames half complete, tools still sitting beside the assembly lines. The war had ended, their crews had scattered, and the mechanical predators that once terrified the Allies now sat frozen in the aftermath of defeat. But the silence didn't last long. What unfolded in the months after the war was unlike anything military planners had ever anticipated. A secret, frantic scramble among former allies to seize, analyze, and exploit Germany's revolutionary tank technology before anyone else could claim it. The Panther, once the spearhead of Nazi armored might, was about to become the centerpiece of a new kind of rivalry. One fought not with guns, but with engineers, intelligence officers, and testing grounds. As American troops pushed deeper into Germany during those final weeks, they found themselves moving through scenes that seemed almost surreal. Long rows of Panthers lined the roads, abandoned with their hatches open, their engines empty of fuel, and their interiors cold as stone. At factories owned by Daimler-Benz and MAN, U.S. soldiers walked through silent corridors where half-built Panthers still rested on tracks, as if the workers had vanished in an instant. Military analysts estimated that between 800 and 1,000 Panthers remained in varying states across Europe, by far the largest concentration of cutting-edge armor ever available for study in one place. American troops who had faced Panthers in combat spoke of them with a mix of awe and frustration. These were the tanks that had destroyed Shermans from 2 kilometers away, their sharply angled frontal armor shrugging off incoming rounds like pebbles against steel. Yet now, these same machines lay lifeless, waiting to be claimed. While U.S. teams began cataloging the machines, another rival was racing toward the same goal. The Soviet Union. Red Army units surged westward, scooping up whatever German technology they encountered. And within days of the German surrender, the race was fully underway. American, British, and Soviet technical missions fanned out, each determined to acquire as many intact Panthers as possible before the others could get their hands on them. The British, resourceful and bold, undertook an extraordinary effort. At German factories under their control, they gathered leftover parts, press-ganned surviving German mechanics, and assembled brand new Panthers in the summer of 1945. Tanks built after the war had already ended. These British completed Panthers became some of the most meticulously studied armored vehicles anywhere in the world. The Panther's design impressed nearly everyone who examined it. Its high-velocity 75mm gun possessed astonishing penetrating power, able to pierce 140mm of armor at a full kilometer. No Allied weapon of similar size had matched such performance during the war. U.S. ordnance experts shipped 14 Panthers to the Aberdeen Proving Ground for testing. The Soviets captured far more. Each nation pulled these machines apart, inspected every gear, and charted every contour of their armor plates. American analysts praised the Panther's forward-thinking armor geometry and superior firepower, but they also noted severe flaws. The tank's drivetrain, burdened by its weight, routinely failed under battlefield stress. Gearboxes burned out. Transmissions shattered. The Germans had created a masterpiece of lethality, but one held back by fragile mechanics. Even so, the Panther left a deep imprint on post-war tank development. U.S. designers incorporated sloped armor into almost every major tank from the M26 Pershing onward. Soviet engineers, having studied their captured Panthers just as thoroughly, carried the lessons into the T-54 series, which would become one of the most iconic tank families in history. But it was France that took its Panther inheritance the furthest. French forces occupying post-war Germany located roughly 80 Panthers still usable or repairable. By 1946, enough had been restored for France to field 2 armored units equipped with Panthers, all repainted in French colors and marked with new serial numbers. French crews admired the Panther's accuracy and raw power, but their respect quickly turned to frustration. Spare parts were practically non-existent. German factories were rubble, and no supply chain remained. Engines overheated, transmissions seized, and the complex suspension system demanded constant attention. A 1947 French military report praised the Panther's combat qualities, but listed an overwhelming number of mechanical problems. Engines rarely ran more than 1,000 kilometers without major overhauls. Electrical systems malfunctioned. Fuel pumps quit unexpectedly. Still, the French kept their Panthers running as long as they could. The tanks even appeared in Parisian parades in 1948. But by 1950, with nearly all Panthers immobile and no parts left to salvage, France finally retired them. The lessons they learned, however, would play a role in the development of future French designs, including experimental turret systems and gun technology. The Soviets distributed some Panthers to their Eastern European allies, with mixed results. Romania received 13 Panthers in 1946, but struggled to maintain them. High-octane fuel was hard to come by, and spare parts were non-existent. Despite being showcased in a 1948 parade, most Romanian Panthers could barely travel a few dozen kilometers without breaking down. By 1954, all had been scrapped. Bulgaria's experience was even stranger. After receiving 15 Panthers from Soviet stocks, mechanical failures quickly reduced the operational number. Instead of discarding them, Bulgarian military planners devised a creative but desperate plan. They converted the non-running Panthers into fortified border bunkers as tensions with neighboring Turkey grew. Engineers buried the hulls into defensive positions, removed the engines, and turned the remaining structures into reinforced firing posts. This unusual defensive line, half innovation, half improvisation, remained in place well into the Cold War, and rusting remnants can still be found today. Meanwhile, across the ocean, the United States continued its exhaustive testing program. The Panthers at Aberdeen endured live fire evaluations, with American gunners blasting them with various calibers to study armor resistance. Most of these Panthers were eventually scrapped, but 5 survived. One, restored to near-perfect condition, now sits at the American Heritage Museum in Massachusetts. Its engine runs, its turret rotates, and its restoration required salvaging parts from several wrecks. 4 others wait in storage at Fort Benning, including a rare Panther II hull, the ghost of an upgrade project that never reached completion. Several Panthers now reside in museums around the world, each representing a fragment of military history. Germany's Panzer Museum Munster keeps one in running condition, while Britain's Bovington Museum houses one of the Panthers assembled by British engineers in 1945. France, Russia, Poland, and other nations display their own preserved examples. A destroyed Panther still stands in Belgium at the site where it fell during the Battle of the Bulge, left untouched as a silent battlefield memorial. The Panther's legacy reshaped armored warfare long after the war ended. It demonstrated that a tank could combine firepower, speed, and well-angled armor into a balanced machine, foreshadowing the future main battle tank concept adopted across the world. Yet its story also served as a cautionary tale. Brilliant engineering means little without reliability and mass production. Germany built an exceptional tank, but not one suited for a prolonged war of attrition. Today, fewer than 40 Panthers survive. A handful can still run, their engines thundering to life during rare demonstrations. Standing before one is an overwhelming experience. The enormous sloped front plate, the long-barreled gun, the sheer physical presence, all speak to a moment in history when armored warfare reached a dramatic turning point. Of the thousands built, less than 1% remain. Each surviving tank is a testament to the chaotic final months of the war, the engineering genius behind its design, and the geopolitical scramble that followed. They remind us that behind every machine is a story, and sometimes, those stories continue long after the battlefield has gone quiet.